The Tour de France provided us with surprise and sadness and happiness. On the happy side, it was Greg LeMond, the defending champion, who started yesterday in yellow, and then in the afternoon, the Danish rider Rolf Sørensen fell in the team time trial, remounting to go onto the winner's podium, and for the first time in his career, he's the leader of the Tour de France. In contrast to this, Stephen Roche missed his start in the team time trial. He arrived at the finish many minutes behind his team, and as a result of that, the 1987 winner is out of the Tour. Hello and welcome this morning to a very noisy Lyon, the whole town turning out now to wave farewell to the Tour de France. Let's begin straight away and have a look at the overall situation. Leading the race, Rolf Sørensen in 3 hours, 16 minutes and 56 seconds. Greg LeMond, the defending champion, just 10 seconds back, and Eric Breukink in third place. Two of the great favourites right up in the frame already. And one of the old favourites too, Sean Kelly in fourth place. But look at the damage done already. Further down the list in 57th place, Gianni Bugno, over 2.5 minutes back, and Pedro Delgado, the winner in 1988, in 64th place, 2 minutes and 38 seconds back. But this morning, everybody talking not just about who's leading the Tour de France, but about who isn't in the Tour de France anymore. Stephen Roche, the Irish winner in 1987. Stephen finished the race in tears yesterday, having missed his start, but he kindly agreed to see Gary Imlach in his hotel last night.
Stephen, first of all, what happened?
Well, it's a long story, I suppose, you know, but like this morning we're given a start time of 16:22 for the time trial, and that's I went warming up like as if I was off at that time, and the team then went to the start, and the lads went to sign on, and I still kept warming up because I wanted to warm up until the last minute. And while they were on the podium signing on, they were told that you're starting in 3 minutes. So they realised what was happening then. They said, well, Stephen isn't here. He thinks he's still starting in 16:22. So they put out an announcement for me. But I got some cramps in my stomach. I had to go to a house for a visit. And when I came back out then, I still thought it was plenty of time. And I came on to the start and I was told they're gone. So I wanted to go, and the commissar wouldn't let me go. He said I was out of the race. So I said, it's not possible. I can be eliminated, but I cannot be out of the race. I had to fight with him then for 2 minutes, 3 minutes to get started, and in the end he wouldn't let me go, but said I'm going anyway. So I went away, did a time trial on myself, and I was eliminated.
To be eliminated from the Tour through sickness or through injury is bad enough, but to go out this, you must be so frustrated.
Yeah, very frustrated, because it's like, what is it from? Is it lack of communication between the directors? Is it my fault? It's definitely, I'm part of the fault. I'm not saying it's their fault altogether, because like I should have looked at the list myself, but you have confidence in these guys we call directors, and you say, well, they know they're going to tell you the good times and everything else. So, you know, it's very frustrating.
Now, obviously you weren't expecting to have the rest of July off. What's next for you? Well,
you know, it's now I've got to kind of get my act together and train for the next thing, which, like, I don't want to, like, it's so easy to kind of drop my hands and say, well, it's, you know, it's another kind of bad luck story, you know. I keep fighting. I'm not just going to let it go like that, because I don't think it's a just kind of just way to end off a career or to end off a season. Like, I fought so hard to get my health back. Now I have my health, and this bloody thing keeps going. Small little things like this keep coming up. So, you know, I fought my health problem, so now I can fight it, I think. I hope so anyway. It'll start to be very long.
Well, that will go down as one of the great sadnesses of this year's Tour de France. We can only wish Stephen Roche well, and let's hope he comes back with some good performances later in the year. Today the Tour goes on. We leave Lyon for Dijon, a ride of 210 kilometres. It's flat by Tour standards, and it might be a day when the teams will send riders out in front to try and snatch the stage victory. To explain more as to why the teams may do this, here's Paul Sherwin.
During the first week of the Tour, some teams make decisions based on commercial demands as well as race tactics.
If a team does not contain a rider capable of winning the Tour, they will try and maximise their sponsors' exposure during the early flat stages. For example, last year the Buckler team won 3 stages in the first week. On stage 5, the tactic was to send Gerrit Solleveld away on a lone break. This would give the team television exposure, and if he could win the stage, his photograph would be in the newspapers throughout the world. Solleveld did his job well. He stayed away from the main field to win the stage, and Buckler had their exposure.
And it's the second win for the Buckler team, and so there'll be some more celebrations in the hotel tonight. And by the way, if you have any questions at all about tactics or anything else on the Tour de France, why not give the Tour office a ring at Channel 4, 071 631 4444, and Paul Sherwin and myself will do our best to answer those questions as the Tour goes on. Also, pens and paper ready today at the end of the programme, because we have a competition, and the winner will receive an autographed version of the Maillot Jaune, the race leader's yellow jersey. The action goes on today with 210 kilometres from here in Lyon to Dijon. Well, the race rolled out of the Lyon suburb of Villebon this morning at 10:45, 197 riders, sadly without Stephen Roche. But the man who was the happiest rider in the peloton was Rolf Sørensen, the Danish rider who's having an absolutely marvellous season, leading in the World Cup competition and now leading in his first Tour de France. The sprint came early on the start of the stage today at Fontaine-sur-Sarne after only 6 kilometres, and Johan Museeuw, who won the last stage of the race a year ago in Paris, was first. Sean Kelly again just pipped, and Abdu Japarov, the yesterday's stage winner, taking 3rd place. The countryside today is very, very beautiful. Again, it's hot and humid. And the riders heading towards Dijon almost in a dead straight line. In fact, they're going to get rather bored with the roads today because they go continually in one long straight line. Perhaps today the attacks will find it hard to get away. And the race was all together at 138.5 kilometres when Olaf Ludwig, the Olympic champion and now a professional, of course, was winning the bonus of 6 seconds at Mervent. And in second place, Abdu Japarov, and Johan Museeuw third here. Well, so far it has been a day for the sprinters, but it's likely to change now because as we're rolling towards the finish in Dijon, the pressure has gone on, and the Austria team here are now having to defend their race leader, and there he is, a little way down the line, Rolf Sørensen, and the whole team now chasing a breakaway that has developed at around 170 kilometres covered. And it looks, Paul, as though Moreno Argentin, the team leader, is now playing the role of a domestique here and chasing the leaders.
Well, he is, because he's obviously he's showing the way for the rest of the team to help keep Rolf Sørensen in the yellow jersey for as long as possible. And there it is. That's Moreno Argentin on the front of the Austria team. They're making a tempo to try and pull down this breakaway group, which at the moment has a 50 seconds lead. And in that group at 47th place overall is Ruiz Cabestany, who's 2.5 minutes behind on the overall classification. So they want to get it all sorted out, and you can see them getting into formation, the same formation that won them the team time trial yesterday.
Well, they should be used to it. Let's hope they don't fall off like they did yesterday. There he is, Rolf Sørensen, and excuse me, would you kindly move out of the way? Because he's anxious to make sure he keeps that yellow jersey. As Paul has said, the most dangerous man in the group of three is Pello Ruiz Cabestany, because he is 2 minutes 27 seconds down, and we've just received a time check. They are 50 seconds in front. So there's every reason now to worry, because as the roads unwind in the next couple of days, Ruiz Cabestany, a former stage winner in 1985 in the Tour de France, is very likely to challenge Rolf Sørensen's overall lead.
Sorensen moving up there, obviously telling his team, let's not chase, because we've got the PDM team here who want to get the race together for Jean-Paul Van Poppel. There are other teams who want to bring the race together. It's not up to us. Let somebody else chase. And you can see that the race is starting to slow down a little bit as the bunch packs across the road there.
Well, that is a sign of clever riding by Ariosto, because it was what we didn't see last year when it was left to just one or two teams to chase. Now the decision here is, what the teams are saying is, the yellow jersey wants to keep his jersey, let his team chase. And what Sorensen is saying, well, we may not keep the yellow jersey, so we'll let you chase. And as a result, the race has slowed down, and here's our chance now to look at the three leaders who are going like trains. Ruiz Cabestany just passed to the back. The man who started the attack, here he is, Sammy Morels. He sprinted clear of the field at 170 kilometres covered. He was quickly joined by Jesper Skibby of the TVM team. There is Jesper now coming through to do his share of the work, and then Ruiz Cabestany. They quickly got together. They all took a look over their shoulders. They found they had hit it dead right, and quickly the breakaway shot up to what it is at present at 50 seconds. They've still got around about 30 kilometres to go to the finish, so there's time for us to take a short break.
The last time the Tour came to Dijon in 1987, France was convinced it had a future champion on its hands in the shape of Jean-Francois Bernard, who ran away with the time trial here. 3 miserable seasons since then, though, have shrunk the ambitions of the great French hope. This year, he heads to Dijon less concerned with winning the Tour than just finishing it. Jean-Francois Bernard was born in Luzy, the son of a Burgundy butcher, and still lives only 6 miles from where he was born, in a renovated 200-year-old farmhouse. Unfortunately, his career has moved about as far since a brilliant start in his first Tour 5 years ago. He was riding for the La Vie Claire team, and its owner, Bernard Tapie, promised him a new Porsche if he could win a stage. Jean-Francois' 0-60 time isn't recorded, but he broke away from the field on the road to Gap, taking stage 16 of the race and the car. His next stage win in 1987 brought him the yellow jersey and national celebrity after a tortuous time trial victory on the road to Mont Ventoux.
Jean-Francois Bernard is coming up to the line now, and for him awaits the golden fleece of the Tour de France. He wins 1:19.44 to an enormous cheer here on the top of Mont Ventoux. Jean-Francois Bernard is the new overall leader of the Tour de France.
Unfortunately, Jean-Francois ran into mechanical trouble the following day, and the race lead was gone. He came back to win the final time trial at Dijon, though, and finished the Tour in 3rd place, since when he's carried French hopes of a home victory, although not usually very far. In 1988, he hit trouble early in the race, and finally abandoned the Tour in tears on stage 15. Further physical problems forced him to miss the whole race in 1989, and last year he abandoned again on stage 11. After a winter rethink, Jean-Francois decided to swap his team leader's status at Toshiba for a place behind Pedro Delgado at Banesto. And this year, the great French hope will be working for a Spanish victory.
And to complete the picture, Jean-Francois Bernard today is riding safely in the peloton. He lies 52nd in the race, 2 minutes 31 seconds behind the race leader, Rolf Sorensen. But as you can see now, this breakaway, which is hung just in front of the field, looks like being caught now. They're about 8 seconds clear. Jesper Skibby, Sammy Morels and Pello Ruiz Cabestany. And because Cabestany, he's on the far side of our picture, is in this breakaway, I think that rather spoilt the escape.
The riders at the front are being pushed along by the PDM team for Jean-Paul Van Poppel and from the Panasonic team as well for Olaf Ludwig. So it looks like we may well see a fantastic bunch sprint here, but when we come into the town, there are lots of very narrow corners, there are directional islands. We could see a lone man try and jump clear in the final kilometres.
Well, it certainly isn't a finish for the nervous, but sprinters, of course, are very hard men indeed. And that looks like Stephen Roche moving up on the outside with Robert Miller with his hair flying in the wind there, looking to his team leader, Greg LeMond, in the green jersey to say, perhaps get on my wheel, Greg, and stay near the front today. This is a dangerous finish. Don't get involved in the heart of the big pack of riders, because if a touch of wheels happens, you could go down in a pile-up of 50 or 60 men. It really is a very difficult finish indeed over the last couple of kilometres. Well, the breakaway just about hanging on here as Cabestany tries to keep going. He remembers his last stage victory in the Tour de France in Évreux back in 1986. And the main field, now this is the crucial point, Paul. There's nobody quite ready to come out and take them.
Not quite, but it looks as if Cabestany's decided, I'll just have one last little go, and the other two riders in the breakaway have Ease and Cabestany most think back to Évreux to see if he can pull it off. But you see now in the main field, the riders are really getting ready just to eat him up.
So Cabestany, he refuses to lie down, but he's going to now because the field are right on him. And the counter-attack's coming again from TVM. Looks like it's Rob Harmeling again having a go. He's been having digs all day in these last 40 kilometres. Now he's trying once more. And the Panasonics, having worked hard to bring back that attack in the red top jerseys, are now having to work hard again.
That's why it's going to be difficult. It was Rudy Darners. He's just come back as we come onto the 5 kilometres to go banner. Darners came back into contact there with the front rider, Rob Harmeling.
Well, there's the world champion, been showing signs of good form. He had a great ride yesterday in that breakaway of 11 that came back into Lyon, and he led out the sprint, and it was Sean Kelly who narrowly lost to Abdou Japarov then. Both riders, by the way, Kelly and Abdou Japarov, are sprinting well again today. Harmeling with him.
Good move for these two riders, because now in the last 5 kilometres there's nothing but corners and roundabouts, so they may well be suited to stay away.
Well, this is just the sort of running that Rudy Darners would like. He always rides the great classic Paris-Roubaix well, and this is the sort of finish he likes.
Good to see Darners riding well, actually, at the moment, because early on this year he complained of having illnesses, but he's been ill nearly all through the early part of the season, and he's a rider who is never ill, and he says it's such a shame to be the world champion and not be able to have his form. But it looks as if during the Tour de France he's going to try and show off that rainbow jersey.
Well, Rudy Darners is not a man for the mountains, of course. He'll never win a Tour de France, and it looks like he might not even win this stage, Paul, because they're all on him again.
Gianni Bugno has just come back into contention with those riders there, and it looks as if Bugno is now riding clear. They were joined by 4 riders there. There was a buckler rider who came across, and this is the new Italian champion, Gianni Bugno, trying to fight back into contention, trying to pull back those few seconds he lost on Greg LeMond.
There's Greg LeMond in the green jersey, staying out of trouble at 3 kilometres to go, riding not too far off the head of the peloton, and with him, of course, following him everywhere, is the rider who is just 10 seconds in front of him on time, the yellow jersey of Sorensen.
Well, the panic bells must be ringing in the peloton now, because everyone was saying the Tour de France is over for Gianni Bugno, but every day in the Tour there's a story, and today it looks like Gianni Bugno has said, OK, Greg LeMond, you had your day yesterday, I'm going to have mine today, as everybody starts to react to try and pull him back.
Here he is. The rider who won the Tour of Italy last year, finished 4th in the Tour of Italy, this time out, and wearing the most famous number in the Tour de France, Paul, 51.
Well, if you hadn't mentioned it, I was going to, because he's a man who's... I wonder sometimes why they give number 51 to some people, but it does bring a lot of luck to riders. So many riders have won the Tour de France with number 51, and maybe this year it will be Gianni Bugno's turn.
Well, I bet he cheered when he was given it, because you can't choose it. But Eddie Merckx, Jacques Anquetil, Louis Ocaña, Bernard Thévenet, Lucien Van Imp, they've all won the Tour de France, and Pedro Delgado wearing number 51.
LeMond right up at the front of the bunch there, but not actually. It looks as if it's all over there. Gianni Bugno has been caught, but it announces that there's definitely going to be a lot more to come from him.
Well, this is a Histor rider going, and I'm wondering if, in fact, Etienne de Wilde has gone clear. This is de Wilde certainly going clear. He's made the jump. This is the Demon Sprinter, but he hasn't been sprinting quite so well this year. He's not leaving it to the final dash for the line. He's burying himself as he goes off the front, and look at that gap he's opened. They've worked hard to bring Bugno back, and now they're going to have to chase de Wilde. You can see the splits we're talking about in the main field as they come across the central reservations on the roads here. Extremely dangerous. There they come back together again now as they line up, and the Motorola team have come into the action.
Well, you see how dangerous it is. You've got to be very careful. There's a Panasonic rider going down the right-hand side of the road, but De Wilde caught them just at the right time. De Wilde really has flown. He caught them just at the time when they caught Gianni Bugno, and he's got a very good lead at the moment.
So heading down towards the finish of the first long road race stage of the Tour de France, Etienne de Wilde won't bother to look back and see himself on television as the whole field are lining up behind him after 5 hours and 15 minutes in the saddle today. De Wilde's taken his chance well, but can he hold on as it's Vladislav Yekimov who's trying to bring the field up? So his sprinter Olaf Ludwig on the barriers there, almost hit them too, and I think somebody may have gone down, but the field is coming after De Wilde now. De Wilde looks under his arms, he's going to hit the line just ahead of the field. Etienne de Wilde hanging on the long straight, or is he? Because his legs have cracked and he's made it on the line. De Wilde and Olaf Ludwig and Jean-Paul Van Poppel shared the finish together, and I wouldn't have split them. But Etienne de Wilde, his face was a picture. If this race had gone on 10 more meters today, he would have lost the stage. What a marvellous finish. And here is the crash that I thought we saw, and one of the fallers was Rudy Dahlens, the world champion. The barriers stuck out a little bit here. Olaf Ludwig saw them and pushed the riders out of the way, and I think the other rider on the floor is possibly Vasily Zhdanov of the Soviet Union. This rider here is Henri Abadi. He was a rider we saw involved in attacks earlier today. I think that's Zhdanov, the Soviet rider sitting on the floor, or is it indeed Rob Harmeling? It's Rob Harmeling who's gone down. So how unjust you can be. Rob Harmeling and Rudy Dahlens, the two late attackers, both finishing on the floor in the Tour de France. And the only consolation is that if you fall in a massed finish like that inside 1 kilometer from the line, then the clock does not continue. You will receive the time of the man who wins, and therefore they will not be penalized at all. Let's have a look at that great finish again here, and just look at the face of Etienne de Wilde. His legs are gone just about now, and any further, and the sprinters would have had him, and they were all there. And so the result of the stage today, and Etienne de Wilde, the winner in the last couple of kilometres. What a fine ride, and he beat all of the sprinters. In second place is Jean-Paul Van Poppel. Third place, Olaf Ludwig, who won the Green Points jersey a year ago in the Tour de France. Fourth, the fast sprinter from Tashkent, Jumodelin Abdu Japarov. Fifth, Johan Museo, and they are the best sprinters so far in this year's Tour de France. And the yellow jersey tonight stays firmly on the shoulders of Rolf Sørensen of Denmark. In his first Tour de France, he's made a perfect beginning, but he had to work for it towards the end.
Well, I did say that sprinting was dangerous, and that crash in the finish, which took out 3 riders, at least the 3 riders got up, and they all finished. Now, the overall classification hasn't changed too much tonight. The yellow jersey still very firmly on the shoulders of Rolf Sørensen. In second place, Greg LeMond, and in third place, Eric Breukink. Up in the frame too, Sean Kelly sprinting well again today, Abdu Japarov and Rudy Dahlens despite that fall. Now, at the beginning of the programme, I did mention about the competition. Well, here's what we'd like you to do. It's an easy one, really. We'd like you to name the winner of the stage on Sunday between Alençon and Rennes. Now, the stage is basically all downhill, and it finishes almost at sea level. It comes after a hard time trial. Now, we leave the rest to you. When you've made your selection, would you put the name on a postcard and send it before Thursday, July the 11th, to Fortel, Tour de France Competition, 142 Lower Marsh, London, SE1 7AE. And you want further details on the results of the Tour de France and indeed about this competition, then please refer to page 465 on Fortel. And don't forget too, if you've any questions you'd like Paul or myself to answer, then please do ring in, and the number for that is on your screens right now. Tomorrow we're off to Champagne country, and I'm sure Rudy Dahlens will be going with us despite his pains tonight. We'll leave you with pictures of poor old Rudy. He'll be back in the race tomorrow, so will we. We'll see you then.